A little girl from Salt Lake City, 2-quart legs and 2 rubber titties. Loves electricity, but she burns off gas, got a V8 pussy and a Cadillac ass.
Gummo is written and directed by Korine, and it's basically a very realistic and provocative slice of life observational depiction of the abandoned and disturbing lifestyle of white trash America. And for the record, before getting into my thoughts about Gummo, the previous 2 films that I watched from Korine, I'm not too huge on, especially Spring Breakers. I watched Spring Breakers I believe 5 years ago, and I absolutely hated it. I mean, I didn't find any value in that movie. It was probably one of the most, at least one of my most hated films that I can even remember, because it was just so repetitive. It just felt like it wasn't really amounting to anything. I don't know. It just felt like a really lazy, schlocky piece of filmmaking that at least it just was not for me. Even if I understood what he was going for, more or less, it just was not my type of film. So I'm sorry, Spring Breakers fans, because I know there's some out there. It wasn't my type of film. I didn't enjoy it at all. But the second film that I watched from him, The Beach Bum, I saw in theaters recently. I actually enjoyed that film for the most part. I believe I gave it a 6 out of 10. I had, some similar issues, the same that I had with Spring Breakers. It was a little repetitive. It didn't really seem to have a point. It was kind of meandery. But it did impress me a bit more than Spring Breakers. So I eventually decided to see Gummo. And I gotta say, I am by far much more impressed by this film than anything that he's ever done previously. I mean, I haven't seen all of his filmography, obviously. I've only seen Spring Breakers, Beach Bum, and Gummo. But Gummo, honestly, was just much more engaging, much more thought out, in my opinion, and just overall a much more impressive piece of filmmaking than the previous 2. One thing that really impressed me about this film and really stuck out a lot was that it all feels incredibly genuine and real. Like, this feels like an incredibly authentic film, and a lot of that is through Korine's direction, and I gotta give the guy a lot of credit, because he really does a great job at making you feel like this really isn't a film and that you're watching something that's totally real. And the way that he's able to do that in this film is honestly a lot of different ways. One of the ways has to do with how he decides to shoot certain scenes, because the way that this film is put together is also like a work of art of its own, because this film is basically, like I said, it's basically a slice of life observation film. So if you're going into this expecting an actual narrative to take place, you're definitely gonna be let down by it, because this film pulls no punches when it comes to just observing events that ultimately don't lead to anything for the most part. But as I was saying, what really gives this film a really incredible realistic feel and natural feel is the way that it's put together and the way how some of it's compiled and shot. Because first of all, I think he got a lot of actual locals. I think he went down and dirty and went into I believe it's Nashville, and got actual locals to probably talk on camera. And the way that he shot it, it looks really grainy and looks really just old, cheap 90s looking. And it looks like home video. It looks like if some 90s parent were to shoot their son's soccer game on home video in the 90s, that's what it would look like. And it was really, again, that was one technique of the film that really added to the atmosphere and really sucked you in to what was happening and really made you believe everything that was occurring on screen. And, on top of that, he actually does have characters that are repeating in this film and that you do follow. And in my opinion, I think he does a pretty good job at capitalizing and putting in some effort to give some of these repeating characters some substance, because there are some scenes that, go out of their way to give you some sort of insight to either their character or just give insight on, what it's like to actually grow up in this type of environment. And there's a few scenes in particular that really stuck with me and are both just disturbing and insightful at the same time. That entire scene with the arm wrestling and how the family all reacts to certain things throughout the entire scene, I just thought was, again, insightful because one, it gives you insight on some of the characters, but it also gives you some insight on what family life is like for this, lower end of the social class spectrum. And I just thought it was really interesting because it was really immersive overall, and this film overall had a lot more substance than I expected. But let me just go ahead and say this because I'm surprised I haven't even said this yet, but this is definitely not a film for everybody. This is a film that I can see, both casuals and film lovers hating. I can see both ends of the spectrum really not liking this film all that much. But, for me, it's really in this film's craft and its direction that really impressed me because, like I said, the way that it's put together, the way that it's edited, the way, it incorporates music and sound, the way that it's able to capture this kind of meaningless but yet insightful piece of filmmaking with no real narrative or conflict in it but still be engaging, I found to be really impressive because, Korine is not a narrative kind of guy. He just likes to film stuff and get meaning out of it most of the time. And this really, I feel like, worked. This definitely worked for me. I do feel like it would have probably been a better film if it had some sort of conflict or some sort of narrative to kind of latch onto to kind of help you keep going in the film. But I know that's not what he was going for, so I feel like kind of an asshole to kind of nitpick that. But overall, like I said, really impressed with this film. And going back to the point that it's not really for everybody, the reason for that is because it's just really provocative. There's a lot of stuff in here that's just, it's offensive, but it's offensive because you just feel like, why are you showing me this? Like, I can see some audience members feeling like, why? Like, what's the point of you going down these repetitive roads of despair without providing much for me to get out of it? But I think it is providing you enough to get something out of it, but I can see some people not being able to click with it like that. And to be fair, it does get a little bit repetitive. It kind of falls into some of those things that I usually don't like from a Harmony Korine film, to where it's like, okay, you've shown this type of thing like 5 times already. I get it, bro. But for this film, I feel like it worked, like for the vast majority of it. It only a few times I feel like it was getting slightly tiresome. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this film. It really impressed me, and I got to give kudos to Harmony Korine because he finally made a film that I thoroughly enjoyed and am very impressed by. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, and this film also incorporates this one character that wears a bunny hat, and the way that it was incorporated into the film, I thought was just brilliantly done because it really gives the film a surreal feel on top of it feeling incredibly authentic. Like, it feels like there's something kind of omniscient about his character, and I thought that was really interesting touch to it. And the way that, his character goes throughout the film and the way he appears on and off screen, the way that his character also incorporates music into the film, I thought was, I don't know, there was something about it that you can't quite put your finger on, but it works, and I just thought it was really well done. So that being said, I'm going to give Harmony Korine's Gummo a 9 out of 10. I thought this was a pretty awesome film. Definitely not a film for everybody, I'll tell you that much, but, if I were to make this film, I would be pretty proud of it. I would be pretty proud of the result. But thank you so much for hearing what I had to say about Harmony Korine's Gummo. I'm going to be doing these types of reviews a lot more now lately, by the way. So basically, what I'm going to be doing is just taking one film a week that's either an obscure film, a foreign film, an art house film, just a overall lesser known film, and try to review it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So be on the lookout for that. I'm probably going to be taking requests and taking in poll results on Twitter. So if you haven't followed my Twitter, please do that. And if you really liked what I had to say, please don't forget to give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.